Hello and welcome back to the Tyre Talk F1 podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. But first of all, Dan, mate, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, yeah. The race wasn't particularly great, but at least there was a race on this week.
Yeah. What about you, mate? How are you feeling?
It was the second race. Well, obviously, there's only been 2 races this season that I've watched in the car on the way back from London.
Oh,
nice.
So you've not been able to just sit down and just relax and enjoy the race.
I paid $12.99 on Now TV for the day pass.
Oh,
that's
to
a
watch
joke.
it.
Let's talk about the top three, our podium. So, do you want to run me through it, Dan?
well, Sergio Perez won the race.
I predicted that. Just to
You
let
did?
everyone know, I did say that.
Okay, he did say that.
Yeah, Perez did win from pole through circumspect reasons that we'll get into a bit later.
Yep.
Max came second, and Fernando Alonso, after playing hot potato with the third place trophy with George Russell for a bit, eventually is on the podium.
I think we're going to get into that a bit later as well. So should we talk about qualifying?
Yeah.
We had Q3.
Well, we had Q2 first, where something happened.
Oh yeah, what was I on about? Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So, it was looking all day like it was going to be Max on pole
Yeah.
by some distance, and then his drive shaft broke.
Yes. Obviously, it turned out that when it came to the race, the car was just rapid anyway. But okay, I'll ask you both a question: is it worrying times for Red Bull if this keeps happening?
I don't know. I feel like Max showed that they can get away with it, can't they? I don't think it's costing them
But
too
how
much.
many times can you get away with it
Yeah.
before it causes a problem?
And also, obviously later on in the race, after he'd taken second, he was complaining of weird. I don't know what the quote is.
Vibrations.
Weird vibrations at high speeds, which could be related to the drive shaft. I don't think they've come out and said anything about that. But he was pretty convinced there was something wrong with the car. And then there was one point when they asked him if he had any more feedback on it, which does suggest that they might have seen something. Obviously, I doubt they're going to talk about that openly because they don't want to show weakness to their opponents.
It is worrying though, only being 2 races into the season.
Yeah.
And they're in problems already.
It could be worse, though.
They have got 2
Could be
1-2s.
Ferrari. Surely.
Could be Ferrari. Do you know what? Let's get straight onto that. So obviously Ferrari, after being, most people thought they'd be, far ahead of with Red Bull, far ahead of the sort of midfield, I guess we'd say, or the upper midfield. But they were not the second fastest team. Mercedes were faster than them.
They were the 4th fastest team.
They were the 4th fastest team. That is, do you know what? That is nuts to think.
It's mental as well because before the race, before the whole weekend, everyone was saying, this track's going to suit Ferrari a little bit better than Bahrain because it's not eating the tyres like Bahrain does. But they were just nowhere.
It was weird to see, actually.
Do you think the grid penalty helped Leclerc? No, it didn't though, did it?
Nah, I mean, he was.
Do you think if he didn't have that penalty, he'd be further up?
I think so, just based on his skill, but
I actually don't think so.
I think he'd have finished in front of the Mercedes if he didn't have it because he was in front of Lewis, wasn't he?
Yeah, maybe, but I still don't think he'd have got on the podium.
No.
I think the Astons.
No,
were way
not
too quick.
podium. I say, he finished 7th
I think he'd have finished 4th.
or 5th.
I think in front of Russell behind Alonso.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think, that makes sense to be
Because
fair.
they put him on the soft strategy, didn't they?
Yeah.
But if he was in position normally, he wouldn't have had to go on such an aggressive strategy. And because he was on the soft, he missed the safety car window to pit, didn't he?
Yeah, and so did Alonso as well. But he missed it. He didn't miss it fully, but
Alonso pitted under the safety car.
But he just started a lap. Yeah, so if Lance Stroll would have had his issues like
10
10 seconds earlier,
Yeah.
then he wouldn't have. Then Alonso obviously he didn't really miss out at all, but he would have missed out less, I suppose. Yeah, so obviously it didn't turn out to be that much of an issue anyway. And I think another point I want to bring up is Aston Martin still have that pace from the first weekend. They're not really showing any signs of slowing down. Matty, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm quite happy to see an outside top 3 team come into the top 3.
Yeah.
Because it gets a bit repetitive when it's just Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari. It's nice to have a bit of a mixture.
Yeah.
Aston Martin there. But my question is to you is, how many podiums will Fernando Alonso get this season? He's on 2 already.
He's on 2.
I think the way they're going at the minute, it looks like it's going to be Red Bull, Alonso on the podium every week, doesn't it?
I think Ferrari will speed up, and I think Mercedes will get their act together. So I would say for Aston Martin in total 12.
12
would be a very good season.
I'll go lower than that.
I'd say 7 or
Lower?
8.
I'll say 9.
Really?
9.
Yeah. I think they'll get... Because once it gets up to... Is Baku round 6?
I don't even
Because
know.
there's a lot of talk about Mercedes bringing a massive upgrade there, isn't there?
Yeah, but in a 23 race season, I can see like Fernando Alonso. If everyone was in the exact same car, he would be getting on the podium
Oh, yeah.
pretty much every race. I would think.
Yeah.
Even though it's a very, very competitive field, but he's a double world champion. He's a fantastic driver. You know, we saw at Bahrain 2 weeks ago. He's a very, very competitive driver. Even when his car is questionable, well, I mean, probably was faster than the Mercs last race, but still not the fastest car on the grid. And he is challenging them, and obviously, like we saw, you know, faster than both Ferraris in qualifying and in long run pace. Would not surprise me if they can get 10.
I can't see Mercedes come challenging Aston Martin, to be honest with you.
I can.
But if they say they've got a massive upgrade coming, yeah, wouldn't that reflect on the drivers? Because Hamilton looks like he's defeated already after 2 races in.
He does, but I think you've got to remember that Hamilton has won 7 World Drivers'
Yeah,
Champions, and Mercedes
surely-
have won 8 constructors. They know what they're doing. They
But
don't
surely,
stop.
if he knows that they're going to be back, he'd be more jolly. But he just seems defeated. And didn't Toto Wolff come out and say on Friday or Thursday that Hamilton should think about leaving to?
He said if they can't give him a
Yeah.
car in the next few years, he should. He wouldn't blame him if he left. But I feel like it's still too early in the season to write off already. If you're Mercedes, you know they surprised me this week. They were a lot better than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
They were genuinely in front of Ferrari on pace. You know, we don't know where Stroll would have finished, but you know Russell was in front of him.
Yeah.
They are still second in the constructors, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that Russell deserved the podium. So I think that brings us nicely on to, do we think Alonso should have had... I think Alonso was faster, but I think he should have had that penalty.
No.
How? Why?
No.
So my reasoning for it is...
Because the jack was touching his car.
Yeah, that is working on the car.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
No, it isn't.
The car
For me-
the car was not lifted off the ground.
It wasn't lifted on the ground, but I'm saying the rule is you're not allowed to touch the car, and he is and he's never going to touch the car at all during the whole process. So him touching the car is him with the jack on the car, because that saves him having to fit the jack, which is like saying.
But my argument for that
no.
is...
Okay, let me ask you. If it was the wheel gun, right? The wheel gun was on, but it wasn't taking the I don't even know how it actually works. If it wasn't taking the wheel off the car, you would still say it's working on the car because he's put it on, haven't you?
Weren't another mechanic holding a wheel or holding a tyre? as well?
Exactly. They don't wait for 5 minutes
Yes.
and then go and get the tyres, do they?
No.
Yeah, true.
But
argument
they do
ready.
that.
So the car parks up, 5 seconds later, then they all run out at the same
And
time.
the other argument is that Aston Martin, the reason why it got overturned is because I think it was 7 different times.
7 different instances where cars were touched by the jack while serving a similar penalty to the one imposed on car 14 without being penalised.
Exactly.
And I see that,
Didn't
I agree
didn't
that's
start
fair.
investigation 35 laps after that.
They should have come
happened,
to a conclusion
Yeah.
before that even happened.
I agree, but somewhat they are clearly trying to change the way that they officiate races this year, clearly, because we've already had the penalties.
It's
on
too
Ocon.
strict, though, I reckon.
I don't think so. If you break the rules, you should get penalised. It's as simple as that for me. If you don't
The
break the
grid
rules,
the
change
grid
the
one was
rules.
if there's a picture of
The
the
grid-
starting grid on the Saudi Arabian one,
Yeah.
and you've got Alonso who's a little bit out of the box, and then he got penalised for that. But then there's people who are starting on the same side he is out of their box, but in the same position he is, but they didn't get penalised.
Well, they.
Yeah.
Well, they. The way I see it is that if you don't want to penalise them for it, then change the rules. If they change the rules so that you're allowed to, they should detail specifically, in my opinion, whether you should be allowed to have the rear jack touching the car or not. Because if you're allowed to have it on the car, then they would all do it. I get what you're saying. You'd understand if it wasn't, because it's not.
If the car was lifted off the ground, yes,
but
4th place.
But part of the rear jack mechanic's job is to fit the rear jack.
No, but it wasn't
accurately.
fitted under the car yet. It was just to the side.
No, it was definitely touching the car.
Yeah, but it wasn't in position to lift the car off the
It was.
ground. It wasn't.
Yeah, because
It
all you
was
had
to
to
the
do,
side of it.
was just do that. And I think what they should do is they should just change. They should either clarify in the rules whether you're allowed to have the rear jack touching the car or not. If they don't just clarify in the rules, they're going to have people bringing up instances of where they've not done it perfectly before.
But I do think they should add a timer or there should be a man from the FIA standing there with a timer, ready to go. Because, like last race, when like he done a 0.2 seconds earlier than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So there should be actual timer instead of someone just waiting there with a stopwatch.
How do they do it?
5 seconds, isn't it?
Yeah,
how
someone.
do they-
I think it's someone from the team that does it.
My assumption would be that they've got like a beep in their ear.
Oh,
that
yeah,
goes
maybe
off,
it's
and then that's my. I don't know how
My-
it works.
my-
Should have an official there with a stopwatch saying,
Yeah,
No,
but stopwatches are so
ready-
inaccurate.
no,
but it's
yeah,
an FIA official that
yeah.
they've done it,
So
haven't
he
they?
pulls in, starts as soon as the car stops, bang, go.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's
And there's no arguing.
no, because all the mechanics are stood there. They're not looking. They don't want to be looking over their
no,
shoulder.
but like, not. He doesn't say goodbye.
Or you can just shout, go.
Or he just presses a
No, but-
button
no,
and
but
it
they
gives
can't hear
a,
him
it gives a
doing
beep in the ear or
Yeah,
something.
they should do
I'm
something all the
assuming
time.
that's how they do
My
it.
point is though, they should, whatever they've decided, they should do it in the race. They shouldn't be able to make a decision after the race.
Yeah, it seems a bit stupid that that they reversed it and then they reversed it
Because we
again.
were waiting like 3 hours after the race to find
Yeah.
out who was on the podium. Like, just do it in the race, and as soon
Yeah.
as the final car crosses the line, that's it. You can't change the order anymore.
I
Yeah.
felt so bad as well on George Russell. Then
Well,
on Twitter,
actually-
it was like him buzzing, then him put a post about Fernando Alonso deserves it.
Yeah,
Then like Mercedes put a little post about George Russell winning. I was like, oh my god.
yeah. No, I mean,
Like 2 hours later.
Russell himself said that he thought it was harsh, and he said that he thought that Fernando deserved it. So I can't imagine he's that angry about the fact that he's a fourth place is still a good result, considering that both Aston Martins probably Leclerc probably would have beat him. We were saying, so
Yeah.
fourth place is probably 2 positions higher than he would have expected it to be.
But Hamilton's interview after the race, he got asked saying, like, what are your thoughts on George Russell's podium?
Mm.
And he said, it's nothing to do with me. It's good for the team. I'll be seeing Hamilton, 2017 Hamilton back again.
With Russell, in the race when Lewis was on the mediums at the start and he was like, let me go by George, and George he does this sometimes where like he'll ask the team a question when they tell Lewis to let Lewis go, he'll ask the team a question. So he said like in Zandvoort last year they said, well, why don't we just pit for softs when he was fighting Lewis, and then today, well, not today, in the race he said, well, has Alonso's got a 5-second penalty, so why are you making me? And in the end, he was right because he finished 5 seconds in front of Lewis.
Well, he actually he thought that Alonso hadn't served his penalty yet, didn't he?
Yeah, but his point was, why would you let Lewis go in front of me when his tyres are going to drop off at the end, and I can catch him if he's got a 5-second penalty and get on the podium?
Yeah, and I think that was interesting as well how he didn't. And the thing is, Mercedes weren't that adamant about making him swap either. Like he basically said, no, I don't want to swap. I think it's best if I keep going.
He put his foot down, didn't he, and drove away, so he didn't really give him an opportunity to make a decision at Mercedes.
But didn't he ask that question after Alonso served his penalty?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So it
he's
made no
sly.
sense,
That's what I mean. He's sly, isn't he? And I was thinking that sometimes I think he cares a bit more about finishing in front of Lewis than anything else.
I think it's a selfish sport. I know it's like
you have to be
you win it for the team, but like you do.
He's
don't
in it for
matter at the
himself.
end of the day. If you get me, like Max, let's go on to the winner. Perez won. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Max came second. Wasn't too happy about coming second.
He wasn't happy at all. Didn't he sit in the winner's chair for
No,
like
but
10 minutes?
Alonso did sit in
Yeah.
in Max's chair. So I think people looking too much into
Yeah, and
that.
Sky Sports posted a tweet about him. He was literally stood there with like a flat, like just like this, and he said, "Max is not happy." Like he wasn't that deep.
He's not there to finish second.
No, he's there
like.
to win every race. Really.
But that's good mentality to have, a winning mentality.
Yeah.
But
But-
also, you're a bit like horrible on Perez because Red Bull are going to push more Max, aren't they, to win the championship?
When Max was going for the fastest lap, and his engineer was like, "Well, we're not concerned about that." They were trying like. That's the first time I've ever seen Red Bull like say to Max, "Right, no, you're finishing second. Just let Checo have it."
The thing is, they know though that this championship won't come down to 1 point unless.
But Checo weren't happy with that fastest lap, though, was he?
No.
In the cool down room.
Yeah, but did he tried to go for fastest lap as well?
They did. They tried to make out like Checo was told to stay on the 33.0 lap time, but they did tell him he was free to push. So if he wanted to get it, he could have done.
Yeah.
And
So
as soon as the last lap started and I saw Max closing the gap like a 5/10 in the first second, I was like, okay, here we go.
Be honest, how important is that 1 point?
I feel like it's more for pride, isn't it?
it's everything for Max Verstappen. He wants to lead
But it's
from day one of
important.
this
Like
championship.
second race in it.
It's not important in the context of the whole championship, but if he left Jeddah not leading the championship,
Yeah, he'd
basically
be
through no fault of
fuming.
his own, he'd be livid, I think.
And he doesn't
ego.
want to.
It's like an ego thing.
Yeah, 100%. And he doesn't want to.
Even if he's winning it by 1 point at the moment, it's still he's winning at the moment.
He doesn't want to let Checo think for a minute that he's going to be, a nice competitor. He's not letting Checo into the championship at all. He wants to be ahead. That's because that's the winning mentality. You have to be ahead from day one to the end of it. I think that's probably one of the records. He wants to be ahead of this in the lead of the championship from start to finish.
Yeah, well, isn't it? I think Crofty said it's the 34th weekend he's led the championship now in a row.
Yeah.
Do you think this season, do you reckon it'll come down to Max v Perez, or do you reckon it'll be Max?
It's Max.
It's Max.
Because if actually, do you know what? It makes it interesting though, because it's never been Max versus his teammate. It's always been Max versus Lewis.
As much as it was really good this weekend, Checo, but over a season, extrapolate, I just can't see it.
No, but I'm saying what if? I'm saying that there is no chance of any of the. I don't think there's any of the chance of any constructor other than Red Bull challenging for this title.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be Max versus Checo or Max versus.
It's mad to say that after 2 races, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but
they've built they're so quick.
that car is a rocket ship.
I seen a tweet saying, "Is this the fastest car we've ever seen?"
No, Lewis said that, didn't he? It's the fastest car he's ever seen.
My only thoughts on that one is that compared to the rest of the field, it might be.
He drove the W11. Like there was, I can't remember which race it was in 2020, but they lapped up to 5th place. They lapped every car up to 5th.
Yeah.
In that Mercedes, the Red Bull doesn't do that.
I think it could.
You know how mad that is, lapping up to 5th place.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like if Max caught up and lapped Leclerc.
Yeah, that is mental. To be fair. Either way, it's a rapid. It'll be very interesting.
It is
to
really
compare
quick,
them.
but it's not the quickest car ever.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. It's the quickest I've ever seen, and I say it like it's some crazy thing. I've been watching for like 4.
But I also
4 or 5
think
seasons.
as we go on,
Oh no, yeah, never mind.
I also think as we go on, it's going to get closer. I feel like that's track suited Red Bull a lot because they've always since the start of last season they've been straight line speed really good, haven't they?
Are you still going to stand by your prediction that Ferrari will win the constructors?
I can't.
That is the other thing.
You're never gonna live this down.
I know.
I told you from day one.
I was on the train and they've
You've
just
got
let me down.
Mike this week as well.
I know they've let me down. I'm actually disgraced. I'm not even a part of the Tifosi and I'm upset that the car's so bad.
This is my face of shock.
I'm not shocked. I just wanted to believe that maybe we'd have a competitive season. What do you mean?
He's referring to the. Oh, okay. I thought
We,
you
as
meant- I
a
thought you
general
meant competitive as in
F1
for-
fans.
We didn't believe that.
Yeah, we didn't believe.
I
that.
didn't believe it. I just hoped we would. It was more a hope.
It would have
hopeful.
been interesting. Yeah.
It would have been nice.
Have
But
we seen any tactical errors from Ferrari so far?
yes,
We have.
when the safety car came out and Lewis was coming out of the pits and his race engineer didn't tell him to push and Lewis got in front of him at the pit exit.
Oh yeah.
That was
I
so stupid.
Yeah, I
He was
was
fuming
wondering
about that as well,
what.
really.
Yeah, because he said, what was it? You have to tell me about this before.
And he was like, copy.
Yeah. And he was like, no, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I just
Yeah, no, I
every
forgot
week
about
they do something stupid, even if it's minor.
Yeah. Does this error fall on the shoulders of Vasseur?
I don't think it's on Fred. Because that Xavi, I can't remember his last name. He's been Leclerc's race engineer for ages, and it's always been a bit chaos between them two, hasn't it? I don't think there's enough clarity. Like when you have like Max and GP, like the communication's there, they know what's going on. They just, I don't know if they force them to communicate in English. Maybe they'd be better off doing it in Italian because or another language because they never seem to have a full grip on what's going on at Ferrari.
I'm assuming they probably do have to talk in English so that Horner understands them, and Newey as well.
Yeah, but and it's broadcast, isn't it, in English?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like that if it is, I think it's hindering them.
What the language?
Well, I can't think of what else it would be because, like, they don't communicate well
I
at
think
all.
it might just be oversight. Maybe.
Just Leclerc's just fed up,
I think he is.
Yeah.
just being at Ferrari. He just wants.
There's a tone in his voice when he was talking to us, like, "Oh, come on."
I think Ferrari is the team of his dreams, and I think it's going to be so hard for him to say, "Look, it's time to call it quits. I need to move." I can't see him going to Mercedes. That's all.
But there's only so much you can take.
Yeah.
Before you
Thoughts? Leclerc to Aston Martin when Alonso goes. Thoughts?
Do you know what?
That might be the movie.
That is very interesting to think about.
No.
Could you see it? Could you actually see that happening?
I can't see Aston Martin being competitive for many years to come.
Oh, I can.
I can. I think they're only going to get better with when that new facility opens up.
Yeah,
and they get the new wind tunnel and all the other crap that comes with that.
Because they've hit the ground running with these new regulations, and I think
they've got a lot
interesting to see if they can go forward with it.
The investment's heavy.
No, I can't see him going to Aston Martin.
It'd be really interesting though, wouldn't it?
It would be very. That would be very.
I feel like that's on par with Lewis going to Mercedes in 2013.
Yeah, mate. Do you know what?
Jumping on a project.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting shout. To be fair, and everyone
depends
doubted
where
Lewis
they
when he
finished,
first
doesn't
moved as well. Huh?
Depends where Aston Martin finished at the end of the season.
I can see him.
Not the end of this season, but maybe like 24, 25 if it carries on.
Yeah. But like the Mercs were when Lewis went, the Mercs were the third, fourth best team and everyone was doubting them. And you know the influence of Nicky Lauda persuading Lewis that it was a good product to join, and maybe and he moved from McLaren as well, which I suppose is a very similar situation.
Get Lawrence Stroll in there to swoon him over, like Nicky did for Lewis. There you go.
That would be very interesting. That would be a very, very interesting point. Shall we quickly? I feel like one last team we've not talked about is McLaren.
Oh God,
what's happened?
So
it's actually so upsetting.
Just another disaster. I mean, they looked. Let's go through qualifying first, because I think Piastri
had a great weekend.
Found that getting that. So for those of you who didn't watch, I don't know. Piastri did get the 9th place in qualifying. I've not got the qualifying results on my phone here, but that is fantastic.
He started on the same row as Lewis, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he was.
That is fantastic. Wait, did he?
Yeah, because of the grid penalty. Lewis was 7th and Piastri was 8th, and in that tractor, it is so bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, this weekend it was probably. I think the Williams were quicker than it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it was only slower than maybe the Alpha. I think the Alpha Tauri was quicker than it because Tsunoda
did really well. He had a good race.
It was only Bottas that finished.
Yeah, but Bottas had issues, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they're the slowest car in the grid.
That's pathetic. From where they were last season, that's pathetic.
And they probably got the most potential driver driving for the team.
They've got the most. I think they've got one of the most biggest potential lineups on the whole grid.
Yeah,
both of them. Because Piastri's really good.
Question. Does Lando Norris need to move teams to better his career?
I can see it happening.
They just because them and Alpine, like when you look at, they've been talking this big game about joining the front pack for years now, and they've just never ever do it. And Aston Martin have come along and shown that you can actually go from the midfield to a front runner.
All right then. What about Norris to Aston Martin?
That is if I was
Red Bull,
if I was Daddy Lawrence Stroll. When Alonso, maybe at the age of 57, decides that enough's enough. Yeah.
When he's at normal retiring age.
Yeah. Those are the two. You've got to look for great drivers in like who are disgruntled with their teams. And Leclerc and Norris, for me, are the two drivers who are like, help, let me leave, please. Or
actually, I agree, because I can't see Norris moving to a team to become a second driver.
I don't think he wants to go.
He won't go to Red Bull because you're not getting nowhere near Max.
I can see him at Red Bull though.
I think anyone who wants to win the championship, as Lando does, and he obviously backs himself. But I feel like you've got to be in a different car to Max. If you go to Red Bull, he's going to beat you because the team's built around him.
Yeah.
No, I totally.
But I think that's why Leclerc's sticking with Ferrari at the moment, because he knows that if he goes to Red Bull, he's fantastic. Leclerc, they're so close, but I feel like because he's been there, Max, for years, it's just all geared around him. You need to be in a different car to Max to beat him in the championship.
I mean, it feels like a bit of a shame though, because you've got that second Red Bull car, Perez's car, is still the second fastest car on the grid, and it feels like a shame. It's not being wasted. Of course, Perez, there's no doubt he's a fantastic driver, but it feels like it'd be so good to have someone like Norris in there, or I mean, someone of Leclerc's quality. I like Leclerc, but someone of Leclerc's quality.
I like the second driver dynamic at Red Bull, though. I always like seeing can someone come in and finally live up to Max. It's because I
don't reckon they can. No, I reckon it's
biased
towards Max.
It is, but seeing if someone can come in and live with him, that usually like when Albon came in and Gasly, obviously it didn't happen, but because they're taking these drivers that aren't in top teams already, and putting them in a race-winning car normally, and see if they can hack it. And I always like that about the second Red Bull seat.
What about maybe not, well, definitely not the end of this season. What about Albon back to Red Bull at some point?
I don't know. I feel like he's happy at Williams. He likes the chill environment, and he can.
Yeah.
And now that James Vowles is there, I can see them slowly sort of. They've done really well actually at the start of the season, Williams. I'm actually surprised about where they are. I don't see any reason for him to move.
No, but I don't think no one joins F1 just to chill on the team. Everyone has that goal. Everyone has that goal to be the best. And no offense to Williams, they're not going to be a championship winning car.
I don't see what benefit it is for him going back to Red Bull.
No, I think that ship sailed.
Yeah,
I do. I really do.
If he wants to win the championship, he can't join Red Bull again.
I just think it could happen. I do think it could happen because look, if realistically Perez retires, say Red Bull can't get whoever it is that they want.
It'd be a sort of Perez
imagine you're Albon. You're in the slowest, one of the slowest cars on the grid that is reliable, and that's about all it's got going realistically. And the fastest car on the grid that is absolutely dominating the field, won a number of championships in a row, comes to you and says, "Do you want to drive this car? You've done it before."
Yeah, but the Red Bull can get anyone they want. Like if you're a driver and Red Bull offer you a seat, you go.
Exactly. So why
would they get Albon? What I'm saying, I'm not saying why would Albon not go back. I'm saying why would Red Bull pick Albon? Because he's gone there, failed. He was so bad. I think it was the Eiffel Grand Prix where they just he was driving so slowly that they just retired the car.
Oh really?
Yeah. In 2020, he was so bad.
Yeah. I can't see him going back there. I can see him going to Mercedes in the future.
I was thinking about it. Maybe
Russell and Albon.
Yeah.
That'd be a good little lineup.
That'd be really.
I think the thing is about Red Bull.
Definitely not the time now for that though.
No, definitely not. I don't know what Red Bull do actually when Perez decides that he's not had enough.
It gets very difficult for them.
Sonoda maybe?
Perez, because who, like you said, no one comes into F1 to just be a second fiddle to Verstappen, and that is the word. That's why it's probably the hardest seat to fill because no one wants to. It's just the car. The car's the
Perez
best
fits
car.
it so well because he's at the back end of his career.
He's had his time.
He's happy to this is the best seat he's ever had. He's happy to just sit there and take his few race wins a season.
Yeah,
and he's happy for that.
And ultimately driving a fast car, have a bit of fun, I guess. He's not going to be knocking around for much longer. Do you know when his contract expires?
I think it's the end. Did they extend it for 2 years? I can't remember if it either ends this year or next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's not going to be there for much longer. Not in much doubt, but it is a shame for McLaren ultimately. I've only got one more. Well, I've got 2 more points. My first is going to be obviously we have got the answer on our screen again, but only one driver has ever won from 15th on the grid, which is where Max was. I'm not going to ask you who it is. I'm going to put it to the comments. Who knows who is the one driver who's won from 15th on the grid and what year was it? But I'll leave that there.
Yes.
And then I think the last thing we can do to round this up. We'll talk about F1 fantasy briefly, maybe later. We're going to talk about overtake of the week. I think it's interesting if we start introducing
a new segment.
Yes.
Yeah, a new segment. So I've compiled the 4 best overtakes. I don't think there's much controversy about that. And then we're just going to put it to a simple vote, and we're going to have a little chat about them. So number 1, in chronological order of when they happened in the race, we've got Stroll's overtake on Carlos Sainz on lap 1, where he swept around the outside at turn 13, which is the sort of
the banked corner.
Yeah, the banked corner for people watching or whatever. So obviously they snake out towards one end, they then do a 180, and then they snake back, and then the 180 again, effectively on the track is. So it's the first sort of 180. I thought it was a really great overtake. Talk about more in a second. Overtake number 2 is Hamilton on Carlos Sainz on lap 22, coming out of turn 2. So basically, you kind of switched back to him a little bit, but he was behind the whole time. But he couldn't get around on turn 1, so he used his better traction to get the run out of 2. Got him there. I thought that was beautiful. Number 3 is Magnussen's overtake on Tsunoda on lap 46. So he got overtaken by Tsunoda in the DRS zone, and then he just switched back to the inside and did really late braking and managed to make the corner. Just exciting, really.
Yeah.
So late in the race as well, and that was for the last points position as well. So very valuable for these, the sort of small teams. And then my last one is Zhou Guanyu on Logan Sargent, which is.
That was a good one.
It was, yeah. So he went around the outside at turn 1 actually, which I honestly I don't think we'd seen that the whole weekend. He just kept up the pace. Very brave, very brave.
He just
overtake.
launched it, didn't he? He was so far back.
It was a great overtake. So Have you guys made a choice?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Matt. You go first.
Manson on Sonoda, only because if it was for the last point, 4 laps to go, last point, then in the interview Sonoda looked really upset. Do you feel bad?
He was. I felt bad for him.
He had a really
felt
good
like he was
race
just
as well,
about to
bless
cry.
him. Yeah.
But I think cause it all comes down to the point, and like that was just the main thing about the overtake.
Yeah.
Last point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for my boy Joe Guanyu.
Okay.
He was so far back, and he made it look like
he
just made it look easy.
Felt bad for Logan Sargent. Another solid weekend for Sargent, by the way.
I don't know what happened to him because he was on the
insane.
back.
He's very good, isn't he?
He's done
came
well.
in.
Yeah.
He came in and he hasn't like
He
shied
looks-
away.
Yeah, he was having a great race until I don't know. He was on the back of the Haas, wasn't he? And then he just sort of like disappeared.
Yeah, but I thought another respectable performance. My choice is going to be Lance Stroll on Carlos Sainz, purely because I think it was lap 1. And I think it was a bit of a statement move, really. Now it's time for Aston Martin. But for the sake of this, I'm choosing between Magnussen's overtake or Joe Guanyu's. I'm going to go with Matty on this one. The fact it was for a point just makes it valuable. But anyway, let us know which overtake you think was yours. I don't think we've not got the screenshots of F1 Fantasy this week. I'm winning. Shock. Matt's last shock.
Shout out to my team Alpine. Double points on the board this weekend.
A lot of points on the board for Alpine.
Ocon finished 8th. Gasly finished 9th. That's my boys. We're coming back. We're going to win it all again.
They didn't rate Gasly.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, my boy Gasly, like you ever.
I didn't say my boy.
He said my boys.
My boys, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
If he's in my team, he's my boy. I look after him.
Yeah,
fair enough. Well,
Nah, but good weekend for them. Double points.
Yeah.
Ocon's season is up and running.
They do that.
It's looking a lot better.
You say it's a good weekend for them, but like
that's as good as it's gonna get.
it is. But like, I'm disappointed by Alpine so far because I thought they do me every season.
Hey. We're only 2 races in.
I know.
Chill.
I want them to join. I want them to join this front battle.
We'll be beating Ferrari.
Yeah, that's actually feasible.
Next Australia watches.
God, imagine that. They went so.
That was Ferrari's best win last year, wasn't it? Australia. Smashed that race.
We got the triple
Grand Slam.
Oh, I've got one more question though.
Go on.
This is good. This is off topic off the weekend. Last question before we leave. If you had the time machine, what year would you go back to?
What, to watch the season?
Yeah. What season would you go back to?
Okay.
2012.
Yeah. I would say 2007.
That was my other choice.
Any reason why?
2007. Actually, do you know what? I might have to agree with you, but for the sake of this argument, I'll go 2012. Just because it was so tight.
To watch the Goat Maldonado win a race.
going into the last race of the season, what was it like? 4 drivers, like Hamilton, Webber, Vettel, and Alonso could all win the title. That is virtually I don't think that's ever been really seen before in the modern era. And the last race was so exciting. Obviously, Alonso getting stuck behind Petrov the whole race. Just seems like it would be a very, very exciting year. Was that the same year that the first 7 races were all won by 7 different drivers as well?
Yeah, I'd say 2007 just purely because Alonso versus Hamilton. It was so petty and awful, and Kimi ended up winning for no apparent reason. It really should have been one of the McLarens. It was just brilliant.
Yeah, fair enough. Either of them. What about you?
I didn't have an answer. I was just thinking of the question.
2021 as well, just to watch Max win in the last lap again.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right, is that the end?
Yeah, I think we're done. Right.
Thank you for watching. This has been Tyre Talk, episode 4. We'll catch you next week for the Australian Grand Prix. It is next week, isn't it?
So it's another break. We've got
is it
a
another
week
break?
off.
Oh, we have a week off because we've got uni work to do. So
yeah, we're not going to do an episode next week.
You will not see us next week, but like, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and that's it. Thanks for watching.
Also, let us know what you think, what your overtake of the week was, and remember to try and answer the quiz question of who the only other only ever driver to win from 15th place on the grid is, and what year that was. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you in 2 weeks' time.